Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. If you are new around here though, and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, starting off of course with the boxing news, and Estrada is set to fight Rodriguez June 29th, an amazing fight which I'm very excited for. Hernandez is set to fight Giron May 11th. Edwards is set to fight Curiel June 29th on that same Estrada card. Diaz is set to fight Duarte. Edwards versus Ore, Richards versus Woodall, Zarin and Welland will fight April 12th. Great to see Richards fighting for titles again. Lerone Richards, an amazing talent who, in his career hasn't always progressed the way I'm sure he wanted to, but it seems like he's back on track now, and it seems like it's going the right way now. And with Wasserman, it seems to be getting the good opportunities going, and it's amazing to see him fighting this. And we spoke to him a little while ago now, and Welland, somebody else I spoke to on the Boxing Now YouTube channel. He's a great guy as well, and somebody who's nice to see keeping active. Belanga is set to fight Jacobs. WBC have ordered Baumgartner versus Persoon. Paul versus Tyson is being aimed to be a pro boxing fight, I believe. I don't know what the whole rulings and things are being said about it. I imagine it's going to be something similar to that of the Joe's Jr. versus Tyson fight, but I don't believe anything majorly has been confirmed yet. Mbili has joined Top Rank, is signed with them. Figueroa is set to fight Magdaleno May 4th. Ramirez and Ortiz are set to fight April 27th. Iarate has joined Golden Boy. Matias is set to fight Paro June 15th. EBU have ordered Harris versus Carmona. Pedro will be fighting in fighting in boxing. He's an ex-UFC MMA fighter. Now he's deciding to go to start boxing. McCaskill will fight Price May 11th. It's an interesting fight. That is, obviously, I don't think it's the one which anybody really wanted for McCaskill. It's a great fight, but everybody, of course, wanted the Ryan rematch, and it's sad to see that we're not getting that. But like I say, it's still a great fight, and I would, on paper, I think from recent performances, you'd have to argue that McCaskill is on the side a little bit, but she's still been an amazing fighter and been a great talent. So, of course, there's still opportunities there with Price stepping up to being her toughest test now yet. Navarrete is set to fight Berinchik May 18th. Stevenson is set to fight July 6th. Masvidal will rematch Diaz in boxing June 1st. Seems like it's going to be an interesting weekend, that June 1st one. There's everything going on with Saudi and Bivol and Beterbiev and the Queensbury Matchroom 5v5, and I believe also Rampage Jackson is fighting Shannon Briggs that week, and then now this. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's to make money, this fight. It's obvious that is the case. It'd be interesting to see Masvidal boxing. I think he is somebody, when you look at the MMA scene, is somebody I was interested to see his boxing ability. Not necessarily going to say it's amazing or anything that's going to be good, but you never know. It'd be interesting, and I suppose Diaz does always make entertaining to an extent fights with just his attitude, I suppose. O'Malley has called out Mayweather. It's another MMA type thing, but I just thought I'd mention it. But it's strange, and I kind of hope it doesn't happen, because the O'Malley UFC reign at the moment has only just started, really, and hopefully it will keep progressing, and he doesn't really realistically need at this point in his career any type of fights like this. Thompson has joined GBM Sports. Scarf has joined Wasserman. Quadras vs Maloney and Hughes vs Johnson will fight May 11th. That's shaping up to be a great card now, and Hughes, somebody we've had on this channel a little while ago, but great to see her getting active and defending her title and fighting on big cards as well. And the Quadras Maloney fight is a good matchup in my opinion. Kazi won via unanimous decision versus Gavera. Gretsch drew vs Brown. Scott won via TKO round 2 versus Leilua. Campbell won via unanimous decision versus Stringer. Somerville won via TKO round 1 versus Kumar. Luetele won via unanimous decision versus Fosso. Mazuz Dier won via TKO round 5 versus Druce. Goodman won via TKO round 4 versus Glebes. And speak about a couple of fights on that card. It was a good midweek Australian card. The which one was it? The Scott versus Leilua. It was. I don't understand on what world that could be classed as a knockdown. Scott literally manhandled threw him to the ground, and apparently that's a knockdown, which then led to him getting knocked out, TKO'd. Strange. Scott, he's made his debut now, but like I say, that was an interesting one. Masoud Dier, something we've had on the channel. Great to see him going and getting back to winning ways, and with an impressive stoppage win as well. And Goodman, great stoppage win. Somebody who is progressing very nicely, and somebody we've also had on the channel. But like I say, somebody who is a really big talent from Australia, and I believe has got a lot of potential, and would like to see him in some very big fights progressing from this one. Saavedra won via TK round 8 versus Hardman to become WBO Intercontinental Middleweight Champion. Davis won via TK round 2 versus Lozano. Flaz won via TK round 6 versus Santa Maria. Kalazdzic won via TK round 10 versus Barrera. IBF awarded Ferreira versus Lescano. Eubank Jr. is now a free agent. Seems like that fight versus Crawford might actually be happening. Taylor will rematch Catterall May 25th. That has been rescheduled now due to a Taylor injury. Sad to see it's been pushed back, but it seems like May is becoming a great month for boxing realistically, with the Fury Usyk one and now this one as well, and I'm sure I missed other fights off the top of my head as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see that it's happened and it's been pushed back, and I will be interested as well to, I suppose, see if the fight actually ever does end up going ahead, and see if there's any other kind of things that will stop it a little bit closer on. Felix has joined Top Rank. Felix will fight April 13th. BBOFC have ordered Chamberlain versus Clark. Warren wants Boatsy versus Yard in London. BBBOFC have ordered Sylvester versus Kumari. Malloy has joined GBM Sports. Rivera has joined Salita Promotions. Stevenson is willing to fight Haney if Garcia can't, so I suppose that July date might get pushed forward if it does end up happening that Garcia gets forced to be out of the fight versus Haney. Bradley has joined GBM Sports. Wood has won BBB OFC Boxer of the Year. Global Combat Collective has won Baumgartner vs. Persoon Purse Interesting that they've won it. I believe they bid quite a lot for what the fight is, but it's an interesting one that they've won it. Stevens, Khan, Lekalu, Moyo, Nempard, Johnson, Lambert, Hopewell, Malloy, Bradley, Fury and Thompson will fight April 20th. It's a great GBM sports show. Some names we've had the pleasure of speaking to in Nempard, Johnson, of course Malloy now, and Thompson as well. And yeah, like I say, a great card, and it's good to see Huey Fury back on this one as well, boxing again now. Mulvihill won via TK round 2 versus Crittenden. McIntyre won via KO in round 2 versus Enyi. Ayukwo won via unanimous decision versus Motwaga. Floyd won via TK round 7 versus Smith to remain Australian National Boxing Federation Australasian Light Heavyweight Champion. Fletcher won via TK round 3 versus Towns to become Australian National Boxing Federation Queensland Light Heavyweight Champion. Wiley won via TK round 4 versus Houston to remain Australian National Boxing Federation Australasian Super Lightweight Champion. Wallace won via TK round 6 versus Grip. Taylor won via TK round 4 versus Narty to become Commonwealth Silver Light Heavyweight Champion. Cooper won via stoppage in round 9 versus James to become English and WBO European Welterweight Champion. Joyce won via KO in round 10 versus Ali. O'Leary won via KO in round 9 versus Martirosian to remain WBC International Super Lightweight Champion. Parker won via unanimous decision versus Zueg. McCann won via unanimous decision versus Strand to become British Commonwealth and WBO Intercontinental Super Bantamweight Champion. Davies won via TK round 2 versus Ayala to become IBO World Super Bantamweight Champion. Heaney drew versus Pauls, and to speak about that card in general, it was an absolute pleasure to be at that card this week, and all the interviews for that I managed to get throughout Fight Week and Fight Night is on the Squared Circle Boxing YouTube channel, so feel free to go and check that out if you're interested in this card at all. And to run through the card, I mean, I was match side. I was ringside for pretty much all of the fights. So, like I say, it was amazing to be the opportunity to have it, and what a great night of boxing it was. Some great wins, some great stoppages. Taylor, impressive stoppage versus Narty. I've pretty much had Narty hurt the entire time, and getting his first title. Cooper, very impressive, Cooper, and credit to James to stay in the fight for as long as he did after suffering a bad knockdown early on in the fight. But Cooper has that very entertaining, in-your-face type style that is going to overwhelm a lot of opponents. And pleasure to speak to him afterwards, as well as Taylor. And yeah, it was a under radar but very impressive performance on this card. Joyce KO at round 10 versus Ali. Ali, in my opinion, looked awful, to be completely honest. It was a fight which I'm glad Joyce managed to get a stoppage in the end. I think everybody was glad that it did end up getting a stoppage just about in the final round. But like I mentioned, Ali, awful performance from him, to be completely honest. I don't like to say fighters too much, but that was a very bad performance, and he just didn't really seem to want to do anything, and he pretty much was a punching bag for Joyce in the entire fight, and he managed to get a stoppage in the end, Joyce, and so, progression-wise, it's going to build confidence, of course. He did look a little bit gun-shy at times, but it's going to, of course, um, increase confidence, and it's going to make him progress, and I'm sure he's going to get another big fight soon. O'Leary, that was a great fight versus Martirosyan. Credit to him for staying in the fight for as long as he did. He got hurt early on as well, but O'Leary also got hurt, and he battled through it. Great fight, like I mentioned, and managing to get a nice, impressive stoppage in the end, and yeah, like I say, an impressive victory for him. Parker, it was an interesting fight. Pleasure to speak to Parker afterwards, but yeah, it was an interesting one for him. Wasn't really the best of performances, and I'm sure he knew that. He said that he was struggling out the way. He said he looked a bit drained, and yeah, it wasn't the best, but it's still a win nonetheless. McCann, a great victory versus Strand. Pretty much won all the rounds, bar possibly the couple final ones, but managed to get the early knockdown as well. And that's an opponent level step up. An opponent who's also at a high level, I suppose, and it's a opponent who is gonna definitely have built McCann's confidence from winning against, and hopefully that Beluta rematch will be next. The Davies fight was a great performance from Davies against Ayala, Robles Ayala, and my prediction, I got it right. Like I say, an incredible performance from Davies, and he's got great range management, and he seems to also have very good power as well. And to do what he did against Robles, who did what he did against McGregor and looked very impressive versus McGregor. Credit to Davies, he's really put himself on the pedigree, possibly that above a couple of the other domestic level scene fighters, and hopefully he's just going to keep progressing as it is now in the first world title. And obviously it's not a huge one, but he's progressing very well. Heaney versus Pauls, an amazing fight. Credit to watch all of it via ringside, and Heaney, it wasn't the best of performances from him, but Paul's really brought the fight and really improved throughout, and seemed to get his number at a couple of times, and he was hurt a lot of the time. Both fighters got hurt, and yeah, it was an amazing fight. And I'm not gonna come on here and say like, oh, I think this person won, I think this person won, but I would love to see a rematch. Like I say, amazing fight. Heaney did his thing, and he still did that little thing where he kind of goes down to the canvas and flings himself back up, which was entertaining. His crowd, of course, always bring it in numbers, and was great. And like I mentioned, I would love a rematch. And credit to Paul's really taking that step up as the away fighter and coming and showing his levels. Moving on, Shaw won via KO in round 1 versus Johnson. Iriarte won via TK round 2 versus Karaguakundo. Calcruf won via TK round 2 versus Weston. Priest won via unanimous decision versus Charles. Schofield won via disqualification in round 5 versus Acero. Zepeda won via stoppage in round 4 versus Hughes. And to speak about that card, Iriarte, it was a debut performance. It was alright. It wasn't anything incredible. I think there is a lot to improve on in the throwing of his shots and the way he chooses to throw his shots. But good shot selection, and like I say, it was a solid performance, and he got his opponent out of there, of course. Cal Cruz was a good, impressive knockdown, and timed his shot well, and you could see that he was there to be hit his opponent, and so he did that, and he got him out there. And it's nice to see fighters getting their opponents out there early on in their careers. Priest, it was an interesting performance. It was alright. He did enough to win. There was a couple of things which, there was like loading up on his shots a bit too long, and it's that confidence, and yeah, no, a few things which I feel like could have been worked on, but he's still only early on in his career as well. Schofield was an interesting performance from him. He was very explosive, very in your face, and defensive wise was getting caught with a bit too many shots than what possibly he's a little bit more used to seeing, and he was changing things up, I suppose, and he was definitely getting the better of Suro, but Suro, he's proven to be that of a dirty fighter now, and the ref, credit to him for stopping it, to be completely honest. It was messy, it was bad really, Suro, what he was doing, and you can't really complain with that because it was very much a deserved stoppage in the end from disqualification. Zepeda, though, a very, very good performance. I got my prediction right for that one. Great performance from Zepeda. In your face the entire time. It seemed to pretty much knock Hughes' confidence from the get-go. Hughes didn't have any room to do his work, and that's what I said in my prediction he probably would have had to do, and Zepeda worked him down with the body shots, really annihilated him through, and credit to Zepeda, really showed the levels, and that's what you want to see. And it shows that he's definitely needing of a very high level opponent next, and hopefully that will be the case. Moving on, O'Brien won by points versus Skler. O'Sullivan won by TK round 1 versus Balog. Carty won by TK round 2 versus Saw. Moile won via points versus Facundo. Arce. Icharti won via points versus O'Sullivan. White won via stoppage in round 3 versus Hammer. And he didn't look awful, White, to be completely honest. He was throwing quite nice body shots, but Hammer was pretty much a sitting target. I would say Hammer was probably a better performance than that of Ali if we're comparing the two, but White, it was a solid performance. He looked very out of shape and everything like that, and he didn't really. I'd imagine if it would have gone too much further, it would have been an even messier fight. But he's returned now. He's made his return now. I still don't really know everything that's gone on with the whole situation with him, but he's back now, and I would love to see the Joyce versus White fight. I think that would be a great fight to make. BBOFC have ordered Green versus Gilly too, and that is all the boxing news. Moving on now to the MMA news. Tory versus Allen is off. Allen will now fight Curtis April 6th. Credit to UFC for getting a replacement opponent in that. It didn't look likely at one point, but they have. Pantoja versus Urseg. Brito versus Shaw. Krag versus Borayo. Kowalkiewicz versus Lucindo. Silva versus Gomis, and Aldo versus Martinez will fight May 4th. The Pantoja Usyk one's an interesting matchup. I don't really know why they put Usyk in there with Pantoja, to be completely honest, but it's great to see Aldo back coming out of retirement. I think certain fighters, they definitely should retire, and when they do, and the sport often retires you, and the Korean Zombie came out and said it this week. He said his chin's gone, he won't return to fighting, and because your chin is something that you can never really get back, and so credit to him. I respect him a lot for saying that. A lot of fighters can't admit that, but Aldo, I don't necessarily think that's been the case. I think he did go out, he was losing fights, but I think there possibly still was a little bit left to give. Obviously, this Martinez fight is going to show it. If not, then I believe he should go back to retirement again. But there's still a bit left to give, and I don't think it's too tough an opponent as a return fight. And I don't think he's ever going to go back to being a world champion or a UFC champion again. But there's a fight there to be made. Ho Liga won by decision versus Grigio. Moises won by KO in round 3 versus Ramirez. Almorim won by submission in round 1 versus McKenna. Silva won by decision versus Koulibaly. Filo won by submission in round 1 versus Osborne. Chandler won by decision versus Nunes. Davis won by submission in round 2 versus Levy. Meerschaert won by submission in round 2 versus Barberena. Chiasson won by submission in round 1 versus Kianzad. Rodriguez won by decision versus Paul Garin. St. Preux won by decision versus Zechukwu. Battle drew versus Loser. Tibera won by submission in round 1 versus Tuivasa. And speak about just a couple of the fights on that card. The draw ended in a no contest. It was entertaining to see that they both wanted to go at it again still, and I'm sure they probably will end up rematching it now. But yeah, it was an interesting stoppage, and I suppose possibly the fight could have still gone ahead. Tibera, though, credit to him. I thought he would have won the fight, and he did. And a lot of people were going for Tuivasa, but I honestly don't think Tuivasa is an amazingly good fighter anymore. He had a good come up, and at one point he was looking like the next big thing in the heavyweight division, but he's kind of come back down to reality now, and some things have really been shown about his game, and there's some clear weaknesses there, and what he was doing on the ground when he just completely gave up his back and wasn't really trying to get off his back. Tibero pretty much had a submission there to take, and he took it, so credit to him. But yeah, it wasn't Tibasa. I don't know how much he's got left to give, and I think he would have to really show a lot if he's deserved of another higher level heavyweight title fight. But Tibero, I mean, he's been a bit of a gatekeeper, and he has shown up a couple of the upcoming fighters coming through, or a couple of fighters in the heavyweight rankings, and so I think obviously there's still fights there in the heavyweight divisions for him, and yeah, he's an interesting fighter. And one final bit of news: Weidman will fight Silva March 30th, and that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.